It wasn't a relationship that I felt that children should be raised in. It was far too dysfunctional for me, and I left with a 5-month-old baby, and I'd found out I was pregnant. Now, I'd set myself up in my own home. I did actually go to social services for help, but the system takes too long, and me and my children couldn't wait for them to get their acts together and help in some way, and we weren't considered a high-risk danger to them, and I'm more than capable of helping myself. So with my help of my local church, I put up a deposit, and I was able to rent my own home. Now, when my daughter was 6 months old, I knew that I could not physically raise 4 children on the benefit system. Not if I wanted them to have, like my daughter having her ballet classes and her dancing, and my son with his hockey, and of course I've got teenagers who like trainers and they have their own interests. There was no way I was going to be able to help my children thrive on a benefit income. I could maybe feed them some pasta and give them some bread and water, but not the levels of food and nutrients that my children need, all children need. But because of the physical condition that all of us have got, it's so vital that we eat right, we exercise right, we live a healthy life. And I'm a big believer that you do what you love, and no person should be without the funds for the things that they need. Money is just a piece of paper at the end of the day. It's more about our self-worth and our understanding of that keeps us trapped in this dogma and keeps us trapped in poverty. Once you actually understand it's a piece of paper for exchange of time and service, and you understand what your time is worth, then that sort of changed. And that's something that I had to learn. And yeah, I did. My mum was involved in the media. She was on a program called Moral Dilemmas. She was in The Sun talking about me as a teenage mum and saying that I had low self-esteem and low self-worth because of the events in my past. I agree. I'd struggled with low self-esteem all my life. My mum made it very clear on this program that I never felt lovable. Probably always felt like that. My mum fucked off, for God's sake, so it's going to cause problems for any child. The thing that hurts me so much, and it pains me, is my 2 babies are going to grow up believing that their mum doesn't love them and doesn't want them and can't be with them. And it ain't fucking true, right? Because their mum bloody loves them to bits. And that's why I'm sat here right now. I've got in front of me court bundle. This court bundle, by showing you, I'm sure they might be able to slam me with another one to try to commit me to prison for another 2 years. I'm not scared of these judges. I'm not scared of these social workers. And I certainly ain't scared of the law. I don't think I'm above it, but I think the law needs to come above me. The law is there to protect me and my family and you. The law is there to help us live a safe life. And it's gone freaking mad. And there's power-driven people out there who think that they are above the law. They think they are the law. They stick on this hat and this uniform, and I so want to knock their hats off. Every time I see a police officer, I just want to knock their bloody hat off, right? Because I've got no respect for those who are not towing the line and doing what they're meant to be doing. They choose the jobs for a reason, and most people are choosing their job because it gives them power. I've sat in front of social workers who've told me that I have to do what they tell me because they have the power. I can't do anything. It's a load of bullshit. These social workers have no power. They tell you they have, but they don't. They tell you they can take your children away, but they can't do nothing without a court order. The only person who has the power to do anything is a judge. I'm not doing this to disrespect the judge. The judge is on my side. I'm not here to wind him up. But like I've told that judge, who I sat down on the day that they told me my children would be forced adopted, they do not have my respect. The only people that I care for right now is me and my children, and I will do anything for my children. I'm on camera, and I'm very aware that this is going to go out live, and I'm very, very aware that People will see this and edit this, but I'm going to be completely open and honest. I fucking kill for my kids. Any person touches one hair on my children's head, I will slam them in court. But the problem is in this country is there's no justice. And at what point do us as parents have to take the law into our own hands? At what point do parents have to go a little bit further to protect our children? Now I'm in a situation where I'm told I can't protect my children. There's nothing I can do about it. I can't speak out about it, and I can't do nothing about it. I'm to walk away from the people that I gave birth to. I died for my son, literally, comatose, bled to death, for my son. Like I said, I would die for my children. My son, and all my sons, I've got 3 sons and a daughter, are my life. They are my world. And everything that I do is for my kids. I don't know a world without my children. I gave birth to my first son at 17. I went from being a child to having children. My son's 17. He's a great lad. He's an angel. All of my children are. And as a mum, it is my responsibility to protect my children. It is my responsibility to do the best by my children. It is my responsibility to safeguard my children. And it is my responsibility to educate and teach my children. My daughter tells me that she's seen a snake and not to worry. I educated my daughter on sexual abuse. I taught her that a penis was a snake, and if she ever saw one, she was to tell mummy. My son, a burn mark to his arm. My children, since they've been taken into social services, to my knowledge at the time, I haven't seen them since May, but to my knowledge, they'd been in 5 foster homes. Yet they had a go at me for living in 4 homes. My children were taken from me for possible future emotional harm, to be put into foster care, to actually be physically, emotionally, possibly sexually, and medically abused. They've had my kids for 9 months. I could have given birth in that time to a new baby. I can't have any more children. If I was to have a child now, social services and the police would bound into my delivery room and they would take my baby from the breast. I've given birth to all of my children naturally. I've breastfed all of my children. And I've raised all of my children by myself. I love my children, and I will never, ever, ever let them go. I'm being told that I cannot talk about my children or this case until my children are 18 years old. My daughter is 3, and my son is 4. And like fuck, will I do what they tell me to do. They are my kids. They are my blood. They are my heritage. And what they are doing to my children is abuse. What they are doing to 93,700 children is abuse. There are currently in England 11,500 children taken a year. There are targets of 1,000 children a month for forced adoption. Forced adoption is basically the courts removing the children against the will of the parents. This country has no permission from me whatsoever to have my children. I do not give any form of permission for this adoption. Any person who adopts my children, I am telling you straight, I will see you in court and I will have my children removed from you. And if you adopt my children with the intentions of loving them and doing the best by them, then you will return them to their mother where they belong with me. And if you don't, I will take them back. Any person who is currently fostering my children, if you are not looking after my children to the best of their care, if you are not taking into consideration the fact that they have a condition called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, if you are not researching it, if you are not coming to speak to me to ask how to look after my kids, if you are not feeding them right, I'll see you in court, because I'll sue you, and I'll sue the social workers. And Carrie Levan, social worker, I can't wait to have you sacked. All of you that have been involved with my children, who have not looked after my children to the best of their ability. My son's an ice hockey player, by the way. My daughter is a gymnast. They both like free running. You do not have that on any of your paperwork because you have shown no interest in my children whatsoever. You have no interest in knowing anything about their personalities and what they're like. You stopped my son from playing on an iPad. Do you realise my child is a genius? Do you realise that everything that you've been doing to my children is against their natural human rights? What you're doing is against my human rights to have a child, to have a family life. You lied to take my children. Took my children from the hospital because you refused to accept that we had a physical condition. This piece of paper here is how you took my children in court to get me thrown into a 6-month process. First page. Kellie has previously been sectioned under the Mental Health Act for 13 weeks when Aaron was a baby in 2009. It's a lie. It's not even a lie. It's completely a misunderstanding and wrong of proper actual information. I was never sectioned under the Mental Health Act. Never. Never been sectioned in my life. I can prove it. Never been sectioned. Never have I been in hospital for 13 weeks when Aaron was a baby. Further down here, it states that Aaron and Faith were placed by Leyland Local Authority with their father's parents. Well, one, their grandfather is currently in prison for sexual abuse. They'd really be screwing up if he had my kids, wouldn't he? And they haven't actually seen them since they were babies. Again, information that's completely wrong. Also states that they've got police records of numerous police incidences of domestic violence coming from 2003. I was in domestic violence from 2007 to 2009. They've tried to create a picture of an unstable relationship